Welcome once again into the Radiopedia reading room. The sleigh bells are ringing in our one-horse open MRI scanner. My name is Andrew Dixon, and joining me, the goatiest Grinch of all, it's my co-host, Frank Gaylard.
Maybe not so much a Grinch, but temperamentally ill-suited to Christmas festivities. Let's go with that.
Sounds like a Grinch.
In Australia, Christmas is hot. You have to go to the beach. You have to talk to relatives. This is not Frank. You know, the last few years I have discovered something that has really helped me embrace summer much more, and that is full-length wetsuits.
Okay.
It's fantastic. You go to the beach, no more sunscreen problems other than a little bit on your face, no more horrible cold water, no more sand everywhere. And because you start overheating if you're out on the sand, it's a great reason to spend most of the time there on your own in the water with the kids throwing them in waves. It's awesome.
This is perfect. Just the vibe I was hoping for from you, Gaylard. A man ill-suited and less wet-suited to Christmas. Well, to counter your lack of Christmas spirit, I'm going to try and sprinkle a little festive dust into all our usual Hostful segments today. So segments like Journal Club, Letters and Feedback, Cognitive Bias Corner, I'm calling it that now, Corner, and everyone's favourite segment, What You Up To? Plus, I trust you've got a Christmas-themed meat story ready to share.
I figured that would be required, yes.
Good, I'm excited. I'll accept a turkey story and nothing else, mate. Now, I've also enlisted a bit of help from a website called Podcastle. See what they did there? Podcastle. Yeah. And their 8 timeless Christmas podcast ideas for the perfect episode.
Oh, please, no.
Just 8. It's only 8. Tip 1, you want to hear that?
All right.
Hold a Christmas podcast episode with a special guest. We've already failed. Okay. For instance, you can talk to an expert or a historian who can share fascinating Christmas tales from the past.
What a very specific idea. But does it have to be Christmas related? I mean, it narrows it down so much. It's like if you're going to speak to a historian, you can only ask them about things that happen, after 200, 300, 400 CE? Because no one was celebrating Christmas before that. And then only in Western Europe for the next millennium? Nah. I think there's so many interesting things you could ask a historian, and almost none of them overlap with Christmas. That's a hard pass.
Oh, mate, you're wearing your Grinchy wetsuit. I can see. How about tip number 2? Share cooking recipes and DIY projects. Got any Christmas recipes?
Is this where you expect me to come up with some Christmas-themed cocktail?
Yeah, you could.
Classic cocktails have no seasons. If they're not good enough to drink during the rest of the year, they're not good enough to drink at Christmas. But if I had to pick, I guess, a cocktail for the Christmas season, it's really only a really hot summer drink. It'll be the mojito, but there's nothing very Christmassy about that. You could decorate it with holly and then get the spines stuck in your lips.
Or you can add a little allspice to it or something like that to give it that Christmas cake feel.
I suppose you could. DIY. I mean, I do occasional jobs, particularly not so much around our real house because Natalie won't have me touch the real house. But down at the beach, the house is falling to bits, so I can kind of do whatever I want down there. Last year, my son and I built a Christmas tree stand for the Christmas tree, which wasn't really a Christmas tree. It was a roughly Christmas tree shaped tree that fell over in the backyard. And so we built a stand out of 4x2s and it fell over. And there was much rejoicing.
Sounds like that tree was destined to fall over one way or the other.
It was.
My father-in-law, I often spend Christmas with the in-laws, and my father-in-law absolutely loves a DIY project, and he'll have one lined up every year, ready to go when you get down there. And it almost invariably involves heights, getting up a ladder, doing crazy things. I remember holding a drill above my head, standing on a little concrete cinder block or something to try and get extra height.
Oh, so he expects others to be involved?
No, he gets up the ladder too. Oh, okay. Yeah, and so I go there often to try and stop him from injuring himself. But then I get into situations where I'm like, even I can't do this. I mean, I know I'm like, he's in his 70s. But actually, it reminds me, did you see there was a tweet the other day with the US President Joe Biden standing up a ladder, putting some decorations on his Christmas tree. And a doctor's like tweeted out and he's gone, public service announcement. If you're 81, the leader of the free world, and on Eloquist, please don't climb ladders. It's pretty true, though, isn't it? I don't know what annoys me more, though, about that tweet, the president climbing a ladder, or
Mm.
the American exceptionalism, the leader of the free world. That term gets me. Not to
Yeah.
mention the use of the brand name, Eloquist rather than a Pixaban. It always, shocks me when I go to the US and the amount of advertising for some
Oh,
pharmaceutical
yeah.
brand names direct to the public. You can't do
Yeah.
that in Australia. We're not free enough to have
No.
drug company advertising forced into our brains.
But, there is a downside because you don't get to hear those super fast horse race like lengthy complication and side effects list at the
Oh,
end
yeah.
of each ad. Like if you listen carefully, you sometimes hear some really good ones in there, like may cause hirsutism, gigantism, and anal leakage.
Definitely a benefit. DIY, another DIY story. So with my father-in-law, this was quite a few years ago when the kids were younger. He decided he was going to build a billy cart, and they live on a
Mm,
really steep hill. And he had two kind of tire options. He had some wheels that he thought these will be pretty slow, pretty safe, and then he had some wheels and he thought these are likely to
kill
really
me.
go quite fast, right? So he went with the fast option.
Of course.
Anyway, he put a brake on it as well. He's
Hmm.
obviously safety conscious. So we did a few little things down the hill. It's going okay. And then, you progressively go further and further up the hill to give yourself more of a run up. And I've got this great video where I'm videoing my son coming down this hill. You see him kind of go past me really, really fast. Like I'm going, oh, that's quite fast. And you don't see him crash, but you hear the audio. And then it kind of just pans to him, and it's him in a fence with all this barbed wire around
Oh,
him
no.
and a smashed up billy cart. So anyway, he was okay, but and it's a fantastic video, so it was worth it. Pull that one out for years to come.
That jump cut at the end where you don't see the crash, that's like in all the 1980s movies before there was CGI to show crashes. You swap the actor for the stunt double, dive behind a couch, and then the actor would pop back up.
See, these timeless podcast tips, they're pretty good. We've done
Oh,
15
yeah.
minutes already, and we've got 6 to go. But before we get on to any more, I think we probably should do one of our segments. How
Mhm.
about we kick it off with cognitive bias corner?
Oh, yes, please.
In previous episodes, Gaylord, we've covered the alliterative
Mhm.
bias, the availability bias, and the need for closure bias. Now, for the final one of the year, I've selected framing bias. Do you want to have a go at defining
Oh.
what you think framing bias is, Gaylord?
I'm not certain about this one, but I think it's like when you go to a jewelry shop or a handbag shop or something, and the
Hmm.
first item you see is ridiculously expensive, and the price tag is very clearly shown as being ridiculously expensive, so that in comparison, everything else in the shop, even though it's very expensive, looks cheaper. And you're more likely to feel that it's okay to spend $7,000 on a handbag. Is that a framing bias or is that another bias?
No, that is a framing bias. And the great thing about that framing bias is that is the answer that you gave back when we were doing the alliterative bias.
That's my one bias. I trot that out. Now I'll be wrong every other time because it's like, I think that's the handbag one.
But no, that one is correct this time. So yeah, the Radiopedia says framing bias refers to the tendency to be unduly influenced by how a clinical question is asked or how the problem is presented. For example, a request form that presents a succinct history that perfectly matches a particular pathology may influence your interpretation of the imaging.
Yes.
Reviewing the images prior to reading the clinical indication can help avoid any influence. Obtaining more detailed clinical information via the electronic medical record may provide you with a more balanced assessment of the clinical situation. I'm sure you can think of lots of examples of that where, like, the
Yeah.
history just sounds absolutely classic for condition X. And
Mm.
so as soon as you start looking at the scan, you're just like, blinkers on.
I'm actually surprised. I haven't seen any research in the radiology area on this. There must be. I haven't looked particularly hard. But that's a really important thing. We should know what the effect size of that is
Mm,
because it's so built into how we practice radiology that you are shown the request and you kind of have to look at the request before you even look at the images because You have to check that the patient's the correct patient, and you need to check sort of the right studies being shown and that it's being correctly done, etc. And yet we don't know how much what's written influences our conclusions. It feels like the kind of thing that you could create a research paradigm pretty easily for.
Mm.
And it'd be really interesting because I think it's a massive effect size. And we all say, oh, yes, you should look at the pictures before you look at the clinical notes. But realistically, when you're kind of cranking through, you tend to read them first.
You still do need that objective information to feed into your Bayesian kind of approach, because you do need to know, does this patient have right lower quadrant pain? Because that will influence things, but you don't want a history that is so classic for a particular condition that you wouldn't even think about others.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine giving people normal studies, the same normal
Mm.
studies, but changing what the request says and see how many times,
Actually,
you
that would
know,
be a good one. A completely normal scan,
yeah.
and then trying to bias them into giving a little bit of subtle pancreatitis by giving them a scorpion bite history or
Yeah,
whatever.
or appendicitis or something. Yeah, I don't think that I've seen that done, but we do
Mm.
lots of other much more stupid research. Maybe someone should do that.
I've got a definition of framing effect from Pat Crosskerry, MD. So this is non-radiology one, but still related to medicine. So he says how diagnosticians see things may be strongly influenced by the way in which the problem is framed, e.g., physicians' perceptions of risk to the patient may be strongly influenced by whether the outcome is expressed in terms of the possibility that the patient may die or that they might live. In terms of diagnosis,
Mm,
physicians should be aware of how patients, nurses, and other physicians frame potential outcomes and contingencies of the clinical problem to them. This reminds me of something we do with radiation exposure and explaining that to patients. I've commonly heard it framed when you're talking about scanning a pregnant patient doing a
mhm.
CT scan. You might say that the childhood risk of leukemia by adding the radiation will change the risk by 50% or whatever.
Yeah,
Or you may say that this child still has a 99.9% chance of not developing childhood
yeah.
leukemia. So for that's a way in which you can use the framing bias to actually have hopefully, a positive impact on the way the patient reacts to a situation.
Yeah, I think you do need to be careful how you use it because it is a powerful way of manipulating people for both good and evil, Dixon.
And it's related to Christmas, Gaylard,
Is it really?
because
Because
yeah, there's plenty of psychology around Christmas gift giving. Actually, this relates to tip 7 from Podcastle, and that was talk about Christmas gifts and shopping.
oh,
So,
okay.
did you know that gift wrapping itself actually has quite a strong framing effect, and it's been studied.
Really? So
Yeah,
we've
yeah, yeah.
studied Christmas wrapping, but we haven't studied the effect on diagnosis of cancer and life-threatening
That's
conditions in
right.
radiology. Great.
So imagine I'm giving you a pretty crappy gift for Christmas,
I can
Gaylord.
imagine that very
Yeah, you
easily.
don't have to
Yep.
imagine very hard. So, what do you think the research shows? So, which wrapping option do you think leaves you, the gift receiver, feeling the most positive about it? So, it's not a great gift, but would you think fancy wrapping paper, average wrapping paper, or no wrapping paper at all will leave you feeling better?
That's really interesting because I can kind of make up stories for each way. Like
Hmm.
you could say, oh, really fancy wrapping shows that you care and that you put effort into it, even if the gift isn't very good. But on the flip side, it might increase my expectations that it's going to be really good, and then I'll be disappointed. No wrapping paper is just lazy. I mean, no wrapping paper is the equivalent of gift cards. It's like I can't be bothered. I'm just going to give you money, but not only
Yeah.
am I going to give you money, I'm going to give you money that's not as good as money because it's restricted to this one shop.
Yeah. And it probably expires as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say fancy wrapping paper is still better than no wrapping paper.
Well, apparently not. So Nathan Novemsky at the Yale Center for Customer Insights did some research on this, and he said that his research shows that nice wrapping paper sets high expectations,
Mm,
amplifying the disappointment of receiving unusual or undesirable gifts, and even dimming the glow of great gifts. So he says if you think you might be giving a disappointing gift, then don't wrap it. Even for good gifts,
What?
spending a lot of time or money on great wrapping may not make the recipient happier or more thankful. Rather, mediocre wrapping can enhance the joy of receiving that great gift because the wrapping did not build up
So
expectations.
maybe
So there you go.
don't wrap it. Just sort of toss it to them across the room and say, look,
Just hit him in the back of the head with it.
I got this for free and I don't want it, so I thought I'd give it to you."
Some wax for your surfboard.
Yeah. A pen from a manufacturer that you got at the latest conference.
Anyway, it's interesting, isn't it?
I mean, that's great because I don't like wrapping. I think not so much because of this particular thing, just because it feels like one of those completely unnecessary consumerist driven things of spending $8 on a piece of wrapping
Mm.
paper, etc. So we usually get, when I say we, I usually buy like a bulk long roll of the cheapest wrapping paper I can find and just sticky tape it around things. And everyone gets the same wrapping for every present. I remember reading this really interesting idea of how to framing, maybe it's not framing, but how to think about gift giving.
Sorry, framing makes me think of Archer and the phrasing. You know,
Phrasing.
phrasing. Anyway, continue.
Have you heard of Yubari melons in Japan?
No.
So, how can you not know this? Yubari melon is a traditional gift in Japan. I don't know if it's specific to a time of year or if it's just different occasions. As far as I can tell, they're just melons. Melons that you would have with, prosciutto or whatever. But they come
Yep.
from this one town or one place, and they're super expensive. Everyone knows that the melons from this place are super expensive, like thousands of dollars potentially for a melon. And so when you give this melon, even though it's just a melon, everyone knows that you've bought the best goddamn melon that money can buy and that
Yep.
you've spent a lot. And so the theory goes that if you're going to spend a certain amount of money on a gift, you're much better off finding a gift category where that amount of money gets you something that's really good in that category rather than trying to get the most for your money. A simple example would be if you're going to spend $50 on someone, you're much better off giving them a $50 bottle of wine, which is a pretty good bottle of wine, than a $50 bottle of whiskey, which is a pretty lousy bottle of whiskey. And so finding smaller gifts and finding the expensive version of that gift is better than trying to maximize your bang for your buck in terms of finding, I bought you an entire stereo. It was only $49, but it's enormous. It's got speakers and plasticky bits.
Yeah, like getting the home brand 50-inch television that doesn't really look very good, but it's big.
Right. But just to be clear, I don't mind if it's a bottle of wine or whiskey. I'll gladly accept both of them. I'll find a use for them.
You're getting surfboard wax from me. That's it.
To go with my wetsuit.
I think what you've said here is probably correct. But when I was looking at that prior bit of research, something similar came up. So say you're getting someone a voucher to a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same value. So you're getting them like a $400 voucher for a restaurant. If you go to the fanciest restaurant in town, but it's, 4-hour drive away or whatever for these people to get to, or you go to their local restaurant that they've been to a lot, it's not as fancy, it's not as well known. When you ask the gift giver which they think is better, they think it's best to get that fancy one that's a long way away, a rare experience for them. If you ask the gift receiver, they far, far prefer the local option because they're more likely to use it. It's too stressful to have to think about going away to this fancy restaurant, how I've got to organize babysitting or transport.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of gifts are not only not good, they're a net negative, especially gifts that you have to keep, like objects. Someone gives you a vase. It's like, no one give me a vase. Okay. I don't like it's the chances of me liking this vase are really, really low. And if I really wanted the vase, I'm a big boy. I could go and buy myself the vase. I don't need you to give me the vase, right?
Big boy.
And so, but then now I've got this object in my house that I can't just throw away. I love throwing things away. I love to have an empty house. But no, because my mum gave me, sorry, mum, if you're listening, you've never given me a vase. If you did, it'd be great. I'd love it. But my mum's given me a vase and now it has to sit somewhere. And every time she visits, she has to see it. And if it goes missing, then it's like, what happened to the vase? And it's like, oh, the dog broke it or some crap. No, objects are terrible. Experiences are much better.
All right, big boy. Well, we did have lots of questions that people sent in. We're not up to those yet, but I'm going to bring one forward because someone did ask, what is the favorite gift that you've ever received? Have you got one?
Uh, so,
Can I call you big boy from now on too?
sure, you can call me whatever you like, Andrew. Um, so generally, I'm not a very good gift giver or receiver, largely because I go on these rants, and so people probably know that giving me gifts is probably not a great idea. I think the best gifts are those that you would never dream of buying yourself, but that
Mhm.
turn out to be really good. And my wife, she does not dress me, but she did buy me.
Because I'm a big boy.
Big boy. She did buy me some Lululemon exercise shorts, which
Yep.
I would never, ever, in my wildest, I'm not a Lululemon kind of guy, I would not have bought Lululemon. And these were they're not just elasticy, but they've got the inbuilt undies.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, if there was a short that I wouldn't have bought, it would have been A, Lululemon shorts, and two, ones with inbuilt undies. And then, but I mean, I had to wear it because it's like a gift. It's like, thanks. This is great. They're amazing. And now I wear nothing else. Well, I mean, I wear other clothes because going to work in just Lululemon pants is probably not okay. But in terms of sports related shorts, I now have like 12. And
Yeah.
I'm always on the website whenever there's a new, does it have inbuilt undies? I need
Yeah.
those.
Gives me just the support that I need, but with lovely aeration.
They're amazing shorts. And in terms of the best gift I've given, I mean, I don't know, right? Because people lie to you about gifts. But I bought my wife last year a 12-month subscription to a Japanese snack box.
Mm.
So every month she gets
Melons, just all melons.
just melons, a shoebox size parcel filled with weird curated Japanese treats. Some of them are
Okay.
salty, some of them are, sweet. Some of them are delicious, some of them are just weird Japanese treats. But it's kind of fun to get 12 presents
Mm.
over the course of a year.
Let's move on to the next one here, which is Journal Club, and I'll try and give it this one a
Okay.
Christmas theme,
Oh,
Gaylard.
okay.
Do you know the BMJ, British Medical Journal?
Yes.
They release a Christmas edition
Oh,
every
yes.
year,
Yes, they do.
kind of entertaining research articles. So I thought I'd find something radiology related, and I ended up stumbling on this one. So this is from the BMJ Christmas edition 2013, and it's by Rebecca Wiles et al. And it is "We Wish You a Merry X-Ray-mas Christmas Signs in Radiology."
Very good.
Not only did it have a pun, but it had 8 signs which they discussed related to Christmas. And I thought I might test you on them, Gaylard. But
Okay.
first,
Yep.
I thought I'd read their introduction because it's quite entertaining. So this is their introduction to the snow-related signs section. It says, Christmas in Britain is anecdotally associated with snow. For example, snowy scenes are found on many greeting cards. Despite this, snow rarely falls on Christmas Day or in December. On average, snow or sleet falls on 5 days in December compared with 6 days in March. Snow was seen on the ground somewhere in Britain on Christmas Day in 23 of the years between 1959 and 2010. That's 51 years.
Okay.
And snowfall itself, without settling on the ground, is more common, occurring on 29 Christmas days over the same period. Despite the lack of evidence, Christmas is still traditionally associated with snow, and several radiological signs are related to this frozen form of precipitation.
I love these kind of things.
Yeah. Just before we get into the actual signs, the interesting thing I stumbled on related to this is that not long after this was published in the BMJ, an article appeared on Radiopedia
Mhm.
entitled Christmas Inspired Signs. And can you guess who the author was?
Uh, was it me and I'm dementing?
No, those two maybe are unrelated, but no, it wasn't you. It was Rebecca Wiles herself.
Oh.
So she reproduced the list on our website and snuck a
Mm.
little reference to her own paper into the Radiopedia
That is
references.
very sneaky, Rebecca. Very sneaky. If you're listening, Rebecca, it's okay. It's Christmas. We forgive you. But it's probably worth, just for the sake of putting it out there, that this is not something we super encouraged. Radiopedia is open edit, so anyone who's got a login, and login is free, you can go and you can contribute. But that does not mean that everyone who publishes a journal article on some radiology related topic, or not even radiology related topic, medical related topic, should immediately come and click that edit button and then pop in their reference just to search engine optimize themselves. So please don't do that. We have an article that's called What Radiopedia Is and What Radiopedia Is Not. And at the very top of the What Radiopedia Is Not article is it's not a place for you to promote your own research.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean that you, as an author who's an expert in a field, can't contribute to that topic, but respect the ultimate aim of Radiopedia. And if you do want to contribute in an area that you've just published, let the editors know and we can guide you how best to do that. Ho, ho, ho. That makes it Christmas.
Very well done. I'll add some jingles on there as well. I actually found it quite neat in this instance because I was like, I wonder if we have an article on Radiopedia for Christmas signs.
Mhm.
Oh, it looks pretty much the same. In fact, the same order as the signs in the BMJ article. I
Now,
wonder
Rebecca, that's a rookie mistake. Like, at
could have switched
least
to
you could
alphabetical.
switch them around a little bit.
Anyway, I'm going to test you on the 8 signs that Rebecca listed. And then also, I have some extra ones that have been sent in by listeners that they've suggested should be added to the article
Oh,
if we
okay.
agree with their Christmasness. Christmasness. Is that a term?
Christmasness. Good. Before we do that, though, the BMJ Christmas edition reminded me of another bit of silliness that happens at this time of year, and that's the Ig Nobel prizes. I used to follow them a lot during uni, but I hadn't gone back to them for ages. For those of you who may not know what the Ig Nobel prizes are, they're awarded each year by the Journal of Improbable Research for achievements that make people laugh, then think. Mostly laugh, but often,
They're legitimate articles.
yeah, the reason I went into it is that I wanted to share the medicine prize for 2023. But to be honest, it's a little bit gross. And so we'll just leave a link in the show notes if you're
Okay.
interested. But one that stood out from a few years ago was the Communication Prize from 2020 that went to Maria Jose Torres Prioris et al., who published a paper titled Neurocognitive Signatures of Phonemic Sequencing in Expert Backward Speakers, meaning that they studied the mental activities of people who are really good at speaking backwards. Now, I didn't read the article or even the abstract, but it raises quite a number of questions. First and foremost, why would anyone spend the time to become an expert at speaking backwards? And if you were, how does anyone find you to recruit you to be in a... Are there like forums for these people? And do they write backwards in the... I don't know.
People on America's Got Talent or something who do it, no doubt.
Did you ever speak in secret languages at school, like Pig Latin or variants of that?
No. But listening to you, it makes me think that you probably did. You realize this has nothing to do with Christmas nor radiology.
Does anything.
Actually, that reminds me of something that is radiology related and therefore worth talking about. I have a colleague who always changes the registrar's report to say, for example, no fracture nor malalignment rather than no fracture or malalignment.
I bet
What
they
do you
don't
think of
get
that?
I don't think they get invited to many parties, do they?
No, but he's adamant that it's correct to say nor in that situation.
Yeah,
but I've looked it up, and
sure.
apparently I think both are grammatically correct. The nor just makes it more definitive that it's both of those things that are not present.
I have to really, my natural inclination is to lean very heavily into these kind of pedantic things. And I need to always stop myself at work from being a slightly obsessive and doing that kind of thing, like heterogeneous versus heterogeneous. I've had to let it go. It's a lost battle, but it still drives me nuts. And when I'm signing off reports, I really just have to take a breath and not put in Oxford commas and other things, which
You don't want to add nor to your list of things that you have to add.
I
each
really
time.
don't. I have enough of them. I don't need someone else's.
All right, well, let's get back to those Christmas-themed radiology signs. Remember
Okay.
when we were talking about those a few minutes ago, and then you got sidetracked? So I'm going to test you on the
Okay,
ones
go.
from Rebecca's article, and then we have a couple to verify their Christmasiness. So these are the ones from Rebecca's article. So firstly, snow-related signs. Plenty of snow in Australia at Christmas time. So the first one is the snow cap sign. Do you know what this is?
The snow cap sign. No, don't know it.
Now, so the snow-capped sign refers to the appearance of diffuse homogeneous sclerosis of the head. I didn't say homogeneous.
Thank you.
I said homogeneous sclerosis of the head of the humerus or femur during the revascularization stage of avascular necrosis. So basically, yeah, it's a sign in
Hmm.
avascular necrosis of the humeral or the femoral head. All right, next one.
Okay.
So you're 0 out of 1. The
0.
next one is the snowman sign.
I know one that's pituitary related.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where you have a macroadenoma that is just big enough to get too big for the cella. So it's
Yeah,
remodeled the cella and then
it's a big
squeezes
boy.
through the, it's a big boy, squeezes through the diaphragma cella so that there's a
Yeah,
supracellar component. That's the
yeah.
second ball.
That's not the one they've got listed here, but that is a recognized kind of snowman appearance. The
Mm.
one they've got here is they've described what a snowman is first, which is
Good.
interesting.
Thank
A
you.
snowman is a snow sculpture that has been ascribed human characteristics, traditionally accessorized with a scarf, a carrot for nose,
Yep.
and pieces of coal for the eyes.
Oh, that reminds me of the Calvin and Hobbes snowman strips. Are you a Calvin and Hobbes fan?
Not really, no.
Calvin and Hobbes are fantastic. If anyone wants to give me a gift, Calvin and Hobbes related gifts are very much appreciated. You can send them to PO Box 274 in Kew 3101 Australia. But Calvin and Hobbes is a comic strip, and there's a whole sequence on this little 5 or 8-year-old kid making snowmen dioramas of like snowmen that have been hit by his father's car, and the balls are separated because it's dead or they're melting. Sorry, random. Keep going.
Random. This might be a two-part Christmas episode where we end the episode halfway through
And we'll
and
do
then
it
we
next
take it up.
Christmas.
Yeah. So the snowman sign is the characteristic cardiac and superior mediastinal contour in infants with type 1 supracardiac total anomalous
Oh, yeah.
pulmonary venous return
I
on a
vaguely
frontal
remember that.
chest radiograph. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you 0.5 for that. So you are 0.5 out of 2 so far.
Okay.
Snowstorm appearance.
Snowstorm. No. Oh, hang on. Is that endometriosis?
No, not
The chocolate
endometriosis.
cysts that have that snowstormy appearance? No? On ultrasound or
No,
something?
but it's not mentioned here, but there is a gynecologic appearance for snowstorm appearance. But the one they have listed in the article in the BMJ is the snowstorm appearance in testicular microlithiasis on ultrasound.
Ring down artifact from all the different little microlithiasis. Is that
Yeah.
it?
And then what we have on our website is the complete hydatiform mole. So on
That's
ultrasound,
what I was
pelvic
thinking.
ultrasound,
Yeah.
that causes. That's the one I think of. I think that's
Yeah.
actually a very useful sign, the snowstorm appearance.
Except if Frank's there, because it's like, you've got endometriosis.
So yeah, exactly, yeah, that's the Venetian blind. I think you're thinking about there with
Yeah.
adenomyosis rather than So not only is it the wrong condition, but the wrong sign.
The differential is microlithiasis of your testes.
All right, so 0.5 out of what 3 so
3,
far.
yeah.
The next one is the ivy sign. I must say I would not have got
I
this
know
one.
this one. Well, I know an ivy sign, which is in Moya Moya, the
Yes.
peel collaterals seen on
Yep.
flare or post contrast, usually flare.
Yeah, because I remember like the puff of smoke sign in Moya Moya, but I didn't know it was called the ivy sign for the leptomeningeal enhancement.
Yeah, leptomeningeal. Yeah, it's good. You get a lot of it if you have a middle meningeal revascularization, either on purpose or like a Stamka or something, or a natural event.
All right, so I'll give you a point for that one. Good job. So
Thank you.
what are you? 1.5 out of 4.
4, yeah.
Next one is Christmas tree bladder.
Yes, neurogenic bladder. Yeah.
Yes, good. Another point for you there. The next one, shepherd's crook deformity.
Oh, that's proximal femur
Yeah.
is it Paget's? It's one of those, or rickets, or something that softens bones. Anyway,
I'll give you one more option, one more choice to get 0.5 of a point.
osteomalacia? No, that's ricket. I don't know.
Fibrous dysplasia. Fibrous dysplasia.
Okay.
I thought you were on a roll there. I thought you were going to get 3 in a row, but no.
Ah.
Nutcracker signs.
Yes, superior. Is it superior mesenteric artery? Yes, pinching.
Yeah, that
Whatever
would be
artery goes below it. Renal vein.
Nutcracker syndrome.
Yeah,
but nutcracker sign.
Nutcracker sign is different.
Yeah, I think the esophagus, nutcracker esophagus, esophageal dysmotility.
Oh, where you get all the
like a corkscrew appearance. Yeah.
Why is that called nutcracker?
I don't know. Just says nutcracker esophagus is a former esophageal motility in which the high amplitude peristaltic waves cause increased esophageal pressure, leading to pain and dysphagia. The high pressure is likened to the pressure needed to crack a nutshell.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's dumb. That's like aeroplane tire esophagus because the aeroplane tires are really under high pressure. I mean,
All right. So that
yeah,
is
that's a
all.
fail. That's their
That,
fail.
and then one, I don't think they had it in there, but it's in our article, is the holy leaf sign.
Oh, holy leaf. No, I don't. Oh, yes, of plural plaques.
Yes, calcified pleural plaques. I'll
Yeah.
give you a point for that one. I've forgotten entirely what the scoring system is right now. But let's go to the extra ones. So these are ones
Yeah.
that people have
Okay.
sent in, and we can approve whether these are Christmas or not. The first one is the stag's antler sign of upper lobe venous diversions and pulmonary venous congestion. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's very Christmassy. If it was called reindeer sign,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe, but not stags. I mean, those animals exist, but during Christmas, they don't vanish during Christmas. But I don't think it's Christmassy enough.
So the antlers are not enough.
No. Well, what's Christmassy about antlers?
The reindeer have antlers.
They also have hooves and fur.
Okay, but they're fairly distinctive.
Yeah, I mean, if it needs some padding, sure, but
Okay, all right. So that one's out, and so that means the next one's going to be out as well. So someone suggested staghorn calculus. So that's due to chronic
yeah, no.
infection, bacteria, Proteus, Klebsiella. You get struvite, and you get these big staghorn
Yeah,
calculi in the renal pelvis, and then eventually you can get xanthogranulomatous pyelonephritis. No, that's out.
yeah, no. Otherwise,
Okay.
bear paw would also have to be a Christmas sign because, polar bears exist on Christmas Day and they're snowy.
They walk on snow. Yeah, all
Yeah.
right. Well, there are some snow ones.
Okay.
So let's see if you accept this one. So snowball sign, corpus callosum lesions in Susak syndrome.
I don't know. They're not
Not
very
Christmas.
Christmassy. They're not specific to They're winter signs. And Christmas happens in winter in some countries, but
But
not
we've
even
already got
Australia.
other ones. We've got snow cap sign in avascular necrosis.
Well, I didn't say I agreed
Snowstorm.
with those
So,
ones.
okay, so ultimately we're going to be removing ones from the article, you reckon? Or
So,
deleting the article entirely.
I don't know. Like maybe, yeah, we have to think about this.
And there's the snowball appearance of pleural masses on chest x-ray where it kind of merges with the chest wall.
And I think also this is highly northern hemisphere centric. There's not sandy crotch sign for Australians.
Burnt face but non-burnt body due to the wetsuit wearing sign. But this one actually I liked. This one is called the falling snow sign. So still not very directly Christmas related, but describes the appearance of movement of internal echoes in spermatoceles away from the transducer, resulting in an appearance similar to falling snow. When color Doppler is applied, the sign can be used to aid in the diagnosis of a spermatocele. And I've whacked a little GIF here for you, Gayla. Let me send that to you. Can you see that? This is a case from Muhammad Yusuf.
Oh, that's awesome. That really does look like falling
It does
snow.
look like falling snow.
Because I was
I don't
thinking,
know.
oh, maybe you should call it a snow globe sign because, it's a cavity filled with snow, but that's more swirly, whereas this is very much falling.
It does seem to be falling, doesn't it? I wonder how that
I wonder
works.
where it all goes.
You could add a little Santa Claus or something in there and it would look like a snow globe in the spermatocele.
And then if you put a Christmas tree and a Santa Claus, then it would be Christmas related.
Okay. So you don't reckon we can add any of these? I thought we could add some of them. I reckon.
I mean, you can.
Given
I
the
think,
ones that are there, I reckon they're all probably
Sure.
pretty appropriate.
I don't think there's a lot of harm related in putting them there, I suppose.
We're not officially up to letters and feedback yet, Gaylord, but we
Okay.
did receive a whole bunch of random questions via Twitter
Okay.
and Instagram for this episode. And one was, what is your favorite Christmas food? Which is surely just a segue into Frank's obligatory meat update. The time has arrived. Have you got a Christmas meat update for us?
I do, but I think it behooves me. Ooh, behooves.
Oh, that could be a Christmas related sign.
That's Christmas related. To point something out, because I think unless you've been listening to this podcast from the very start, it may feel like Frank is just one of these crazy, I need to kill the meat that I eat, kind of going into the forest with a bow and arrow and, slaughtering animals and covering myself in their blood kind of guy. And I'm really not. It's actually the exact opposite. I don't particularly like meat. And we started talking about this because I was promoting meat alternatives, if you remember. that Incredi meat or whatever it was
That's
called.
right.
Having said that, I'm happy to lean into the meat update theme. It is kind of interesting, but I'm not a crazy carnivore, and I do not want to receive hate mail from all the angry vegetarians out there.
Now, before you go on, because we are going extra long in this episode, special Christmas edition,
Yes.
you mentioned that unless you've listened to every episode, some people have been sharing with us via social media. You know the Spotify Wrapped, when it tells
Hmm.
you Spotify tells you what your most listened
Oh,
thing was
yes.
for the
Yes.
year. And someone sent us, I think it was Benjamin, sent us
Yes.
his screen capture, and he'd listened to 1,555 minutes of us. And I did the calculations, and I think that means he's literally listened to every minute of the
Wow.
podcast. So
Wow.
that's
I don't know what to say,
it
Benjamin.
said he was in the top
Congratulations,
1%.
maybe?
If anyone can beat top 1%, if they've got a Spotify Wrapped that says top 0.5%, then you can beat Benjamin. Send it into us and we'll
Yeah,
put you on
on the
a
pod.
subsequent episode. Yeah. Anyway, what have you got that's turkey related, I'm hoping?
All right. Now, you've heard of a turducken, right?
Yeah. So you take a chicken, stuff it into a duck, and then you've got a ducken,
Yeah.
and then you take the ducken, stuff it into a turkey, and you've got a turducken.
And so I
I
thought
mean, everyone's heard of that, surely.
if I need to find a Christmas related thing, it just struck me that surely people did not want to stop at 3. There must be, how many Russian dolls, animals can you go?
The babushka.
And so I started looking around and I managed to find one with 20 animals.
No.
And I thought I was pretty excited because 20 animals
You'd
sounds
have to
like
start with a very small animal.
you either start with a very small one or end with a very, very large one.
Probably both.
And I have to admit, I'm a bit disappointed when I dug into it. It was by Merrick and the Highway Patrol, an Australian radio show. Are you familiar with it?
Is that Merrick Watts? No?
Yeah, maybe, I suppose. But they cheated because I think at the heart of the rules of turduckens is the meat has to be concentric.
I thought you
It
were going to
is.
say consensual to being stuffed inside another animal.
I mean,
Anyway, yeah.
consent to being eaten is something that's brought up in Hitchhiker's Guide,
Oh, really?
the restaurant at the end of the universe, where they've genetically engineered a cow to want to be eaten. And so it comes up to the table and says,
It's
look at my rump. It would make a very nice steak. That's kind of
That's
really
great.
creepy. Anyway, no, so it has to be concentric. It has to be a chicken inside a duck, inside a turkey.
Yeah.
But what
yeah.
they've done here is they've taken a whole baby pig and then stuffed it with 19 other types of meat from 19 different animals, including kangaroo and oxen and water buffalo.
Mm.
But they've just sort of slabbed layers of this meat and then sewed the pig. I mean, there's a time-lapse video of them preparing it.
Which we will not link to. That sounds disgusting.
It's not great. But like people, if you're going to go more than 3 animals, and you could see how you could put a pigeon and maybe a quail, right? So then you'd have what would that be? A quail, pig, turducken or something. I don't know. You could do that easily and still stick with the spirit of the thing. You can't just say, oh, now we've just got 20 different animals all bar mixed together in a slurry. That doesn't count. So Merrick, you're not listening, but if you were, we are, as Australians, disappointed.
So no turkey for you at Christmas time? What do you guys cook?
Oh, God, no. One turkey, even when it's cooked well, is one of the sad meats. It's not one of the good ones. Natalie and I cooked 2 turkeys in our life. We spent 2 years in Canada where they do Christmas properly, like it's cold and there's snow. It feels like having roasts is the right, appropriate thing to eat. And there were a whole bunch of expats that were sort of all Canadians that were there, and we had an enormous pot and this massive turkey, and we brined it and did all of this stuff, and it was okay. But in Australia, no, we barely do Christmas in Australia, really.
Well, we do the full
do you?
roast and everything, but it does seem ridiculous. It's summer, it's really, really hot, and you go and add this additional heat into your house as you roast the turkey. It is madness. But I guess most traditions are
Yes,
madness.
indeed.
All right. Well, officially now, it is time for us to move on to letters and
It's finally time
questions.
to start the episode.
So I'm going to share one genuine non-Christmas letter and
Yeah.
then a few Christmas ones that were specifically sent in by listeners when we
Oh, I
prompted
see.
them about
Yep.
this Christmas episode. So here's the non-Christmas one from Bill in Canada. He says, I look forward to every new episode. Love the banter between Frank and Andrew, expert insights from their various guests, if they
Not
have
from
one,
us, I would like to point out.
and off topic discussions. Highly recommended for radiologists and radiology enthusiasts everywhere. So there you go. Thanks,
Thank you,
Bill. He's
Bill.
probably roasting his
Canada,
turkey.
you know how to do Christmas. You have the whole Christmas thing down pat.
I
Hats
actually
off.
love Christmas in Australia. I love going to the beach and the sun. It's fantastic. Anyway, now some quick fire ones
All right.
from our listeners. Okay, you ready? Some
Mhm.
questions. I think they're mainly Christmas themed, but I think people got carried away and just wanted to ask anything. So, what is your favorite Christmas carol? I've got one.
No, definitely do not have one.
It's not really a Christmas carol, but we've started listening over the last few years in particular. We often listen to Tim Minchin's White Wine in the Sun. Do you know that one?
Oh, that actually, retract my answer. If we're allowed to count that as a Christmas carol, that
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
fantastic choice. We listen to it a lot. And so I guess, I don't know how famous Tim is outside of Australia. He's probably quite well known in the UK, but
I think he's reasonably well known because of Matilda, the musical.
yeah. So if you haven't heard Tim Minchin's stuff, go on YouTube, look him up. He's an Australian piano player, comedian, musician. He's very funny, but there is a little warning that I think should go along with that, is that a lot of his earlier works
Hmm.
come with a not safe for work and not safe for people who are easily offended, particularly by blasphemy. Would that
Yeah.
be fair to say?
Yeah, and I think he's a very skeptical
Yeah.
person, and yeah, so certainly not for religious people to
No.
listen to it. Although this song, White Wine in the Sun, is basically him saying, he's not a religious person, but he loves Christmas
Yeah.
because he loves, getting together with his family. He even likes the songs. Um,
Yeah.
but it's
Although,
just an amazing song, and it's kind of quintessentially Australian, the things he's talking about, because
yeah.
obviously White Wine in the Sun is talking about the way we celebrate in Australia in the sun, and he's from Perth, I think.
Yeah.
So
No,
anyway,
that's a
that's the
great
first
choice.
question.
Good.
Next one here is: do you own any tacky pieces of holiday clothing?
No, Lululemon doesn't make any holiday
I
shorts.
have got this. I don't think it was given to me, but I think I just acquired it from somewhere. It's a motorized Santa hat that
Oh
kind of
God.
the top of the hat kind of flops around when you press the button, and it sings a song as it goes. They go, have a holly jolly
Oh God.
Christmas. It's the best time.
Oh.
And the joke with it is that you put it on and you look thoroughly bored and unimpressed, and this song plays and it flaps around. It's great. I pull it out every year. So next question: what's your favorite indoor or outdoor activity over the holiday season?
Oh, that's an easy answer. I
Wetsuits,
particularly,
wetsuits.
we go
No,
down to the beach and wetsuits, fine, sure. But I have my chainsaw. There's always some dead wood that needs to be cut
at the actual beach, or this is just at the beach house?
at the beach house. Me and the
Just
dog,
don't take it down onto the actual beach.
no,
Imagine a guy just turns up with a chainsaw
in
on
a
the
full
actual
length
beach on
wetsuit.
Christmas
Yeah.
Day. Is be like,
No, no, just me and the dog. We're in the backyard chopping down some dead wood on my own. Love it. That's my special activity.
okay, that's your outdoor activity. My indoor activity would be playing board games or
Oh,
doing
yeah.
puzzles. I reckon
Yeah.
that's great over, particularly because it's really hot. And the other one was watching the cricket. You're not going to say that you enjoy that, but
No.
I enjoy that over the summer holidays here as well. Next one. This doesn't seem Christmassy. It says pineapple on pizza. Yes or no? This is from Twitter.
Hard no. Definitely no.
You know my stance on
I
pineapple.
respect your I respect your choice, but it's got no business on any pizza of mine.
I'm not sure this happens other places around the world, does it? But we have in Australia, it's quite common for pineapple to be put on pizzas. Particularly, we have a pizza called a Hawaiian pizza, and I don't know if Hawaii has it, but we've got it, and
Yeah.
it's got pineapple on it
Yeah.
and ham and cheese.
Ugh,
No, I reckon it's quite good.
no.
All right, next one: real or plastic Christmas tree?
So Christmas trees are a bit of an issue in our family, not just because last time it fell over. and it wasn't a real Christmas tree. But Natalie is very in favor of Christmas trees. She loves the idea of having a beautiful Christmas tree that we decorate as a family and create these
Mhm.
memories, and it's lovely. But you see, for Natalie to love the Christmas tree, all she really needs to do is vaguely wave her hands around and say, I would like a Christmas tree. And then magically, a Christmas tree appears because this schmuck has to go and get the Christmas tree and get sap all over himself and get stung by the nettles and put it on his car. And there's bugs on it. And ugh, no. So I would quite like a plastic one, preferably
Mhm.
one that just folds up in one action, like
Yeah, yeah.
an umbrella that's like, oh, Christmas tree's done. It's all good. What about you?
Yeah, we're plastic Christmas tree all the way. I think we use the excuse of allergies in the kids, but I'm not sure if they
Oh,
are actually allergic.
I should come
But
up with
yeah,
that.
they fold out nicely. We've got this really thin one at the moment, which is just black branches, and then they've got little LED lights all scattered
Yeah.
through it, and so it's all built in. You don't have to do anything, and it looks great.
It's not the George Costanza Festivus post.
No, has he just got a post?
Oh, they didn't celebrate Christmas. They created a celebration in the
Yeah,
middle of the
Festivus.
year called Festivus, and it was just a pole. You had to decorate the pole.
Fake plastic Christmas tree reminds me of that Radiohead song, Fake Plastic
Mm.
Trees, for some reason. I won't do my Tom York impersonation, but if you want that kind of thing, that's why we need a Patreon. I'll break into my
Yes.
falsetto doing Radiohead classics. Final one here. This is from @CellAesa on X or
Hmm.
Twitter. What is your favorite radio isotope? Hashtag Gamma Rant is what she
That's
wrote.
not Christmas. That's
I
not
think she
Christmas
was just
related at
having a go
all.
at you, mate.
I don't have one.
I looked at this and then I thought, I wonder if there's a good joke about isotopes. So I Googled it and this is the joke that came up. Why are helium, curium, and barium called the medical isotopes?
One, I don't think they are, but why?
You have to accept these kind of premises in
Okay.
jokes. You can't question them
Okay. Why, Dixon? Why?
because
Why are helium, curium, and barium called the medical isotopes?
if you can't helium or curium them, you barium.
Oh, God.
I didn't even say it properly, but it's quite
I'm
funny.
going to crack that out with the
Let's
boys.
bring this ultra long Christmas episode home with the final segment. It's called What You Up To?
I mentioned this briefly before, but this is kind of relevant to anyone who's part of whoever contributes anything to Radiopedia, really, or even is thinking about it. We've completely changed how we do interaction between editors and the community. We now have like a forum that's called Mattermost. That's sort of like Slack, but you join it just by visiting radiopedia.org/community. And then you can see interesting cases, interact with us, ask us questions if you're thinking of contributing, or just hang out. And it's made a really big difference
Mm,
to how quickly we can interact and how much more informal it is, which is much more closely aligned with the vibe that we're going for rather than email.
yeah.
So check it out. You don't need to be a contributor to check it out. Just come on in, say hi, and hang out.
And if it's working nicely, then we might think about using it for the podcast communications
Yeah, that's right.
as well. Although I'm thinking about doing an email list as well for the podcast and other ways to try and engage with people to make these kind of episodes easier so that we actually get
Yes.
some people sending in ideas and things.
What about you? What have you been working on?
So I'm working on some Radiopedia 2024
Of
stuff,
course.
especially the interactive content. So we're going to have these daily anatomy revision sessions and these
Oh, nice.
on-call case reporting sets throughout the
Hmm.
conference. So I'm just designing the style for those with Murph and with Vicus, because there's probably like 10 radiologists involved in making various parts for these things, and
Hmm.
they've got to all kind of come together consistently and look awesome. So working on that.
Which I'm sure they will.
And unrelated to Radiopedia, I'm about to start an improv course with a mate. Did I tell you about this,
Oh,
Galen?
no. You're not finding someone else to talk rubbish with for an hour
That's right. I'm
unscripted.
starting a new podcast, guys. No, 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 no. I'm actually going to the course to learn how to do improv for a bit of fun.
And maybe the quality of this podcast will increase.
That's right. That's right. Like, give me a word and I'll just riff off it, Gaylord. Give me a word. Wetsuit, loser, sunburn. Yeah, see? All right, we better wrap this extra long episode up. How can people get in contact with us, Gaylord?
Well, we're at Radiopedia on Twitter and Instagram, as well as at Frank Gaylard and at Dr. Andrew Dixon. You can also email us at podcast@radiopedia.org, or, I guess, come to radiopedia.org/community and heckle us there
Yeah.
with any ideas and feedback you might have.
Let us know if we should add a disclaimer to the end of the podcast. Do we cause hirsutism, gigantism, or anal leakage for you? By all means, let us know if we do.
And if you want to help support Radiopedia, then you can become a paid supporter via the website or purchase an all-access pass to our online courses and conference. The Radiopedia 2024 is, as you know, just around the corner. 6 months away, Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
Not long, not many days, not many sleeps. And if you do become a paid supporter or get an all-access pass, then not only will you be getting access to all our content, but you'll be helping us to give it away for free to everyone who lives in 125 low and middle income countries.
And I'm going to play this one backwards. So you're going to say it, then I'm going to play it backwards. What else can people do to help us out, Frank? Yeah, no, yes, that's right. You can also help us out by leaving a 5-star review in the podcast app of your choosing. You kind of sounded slightly Russian there when you're backwards.
Indeed.
All right, and we'll catch you all again sometime soon. Happy Christmas and have a fantastic New Year. Have a great break if you're having one, and if you're working, I wish you enjoyable days. Maybe slightly quieter over the Christmas time. Maybe not.
Stay rad.
Oh my gosh, I like this.
Rad.
This is Silent Night.
I don't have any other lyrics to go, but we'll have to come up with a whole rewording.
Stay rad. Nope, can't think of anything other than wetsuit. Wetsuit. All right, see ya. See you in the new year.
See ya.
Bye.